Help support Friendo Club by going to patreon.com/Steven Larson or clicking join at youtube.com/Steven Larson. Access to bonus episodes, question threads for the Going In Raw podcast, and entry to our monthly wrestling predictions challenges. Join the Friendo Club today. Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. On today's episode, we got a bunch of news for you, and we're going to be answering your questions. Among the news stories, we're going to talk about where Kazuchika Okada is expected to go. We're going to talk about more of the Vince McMahon lawsuit / allegations / Endeavor possibly cleaning house situation. The latest on WWE's Netflix deal, and if the Vince situation had any effect on that. But first, a lot of people are talking about WrestleMania shaping up to be one of the more injury-prone, or I guess sort of prone to victims of circumstance, perhaps, would be considered. But most notably, of course, CM Punk and his triceps tear, and what WWE's had to do in order to sort of dance around that, Larson.
Yeah, so, of course, following Punk's injury at the Rumble, torn tricep, as you mentioned, WWE has made some creative changes on the road to WrestleMania, according to Fightful. That Cody-Seth Rollins promo segment, you know, where they went back and forth, where Seth was pleading with Cody, choose me.
Please choose me.
Choose me.
Please choose me, sir.
Choose me to face at Mania. Not that other guy, Roman Reigns. Choose me. That was booked due to Punk's injury, and you know it makes sense that, you know, one thing WWE has done from a creative standpoint, even just the build to the Rumble, because it seemed pretty clear a month in advance. All right, Cody's going to win, and Bayley's going to win.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
they threw some doubt in there, at least you know, with Becky in the women's Rumble, and then the men's Rumble. You know, in the 2-3 weeks, even 4 weeks that preceded it, you had the idea that, hey, Punk could win. He needs to finish his story.
Yeah.
Main event WrestleMania. Gunther made a really strong last-minute case for himself.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And you couldn't count out Drew McIntyre as a possible winner, too, based on the story they're telling with him.
Yeah.
So it seems like a situation where they're like, hey. Everybody knows. I mean, Cody, as soon as he won the Rumble, he's pointing to Roman Reigns up in that luxury box.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that's going to be the match, but let's try to get people to doubt that a little bit. And
They're
also
even putting misinformation out there via Sports Illustrated. They were putting some misinformation out there.
Yeah. And also maybe buys them some time to figure out what they're going to do with the World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania, because if the idea was Punk Rollins, Punk is out. I mean, there's a lot of really good options. You could have Drew challenge again. You could have Gunther. You could have a multi-man match. There's a lot of options available. But, of course, whatever option you choose, obviously, I think would have a trickle-down effect on the rest of the card. So you have to work all that out. So they probably need time to work all that out.
It seems like that's what we're doing. That Cody-Seth segment was the ratings highlight of Raw last night. I think it did like an average of 1.9 something or another, and that segment alone did almost 2.2, I think, million viewers. And so that was a hot segment. You got to wonder, is, you know, yeah, man, I don't know, because they're in a good position right now where they have a lot of interesting names. You know, you haven't even mentioned like Damian Priest, who's got Money in the Bank. Mm-hmm. They're building him up to be, you know, a pretty serious heel after months of kind of being hapless. So they have some options that they can play with as you know, potential plan Bs. You know, you got to wonder, number one, if they're going to look at the ratings that Cody Seth did and get any ideas from that. I mean, it is sort of, you know, you can plan, but injuries happen, and, you know, life happens sometimes. And I know the idea a while ago, and I know Fightful had a report on this, that it's been a while that he had heard, I think this was the case, about the Gunther Brock Lesnar thing, how there was no certainty that was still going to be the plan even before the lawsuit stuff happened. But yeah, it sort of feels that there's a lot of different ways they can go. Let's talk about this very briefly. I just want to get your response because it probably echoes mine. but I feel like you can probably give a better response. What is your response to people on internet, given that CM Punk was firing some shots with his busted arm, and he did a bump kind of on the arm, and then Drew McIntyre went to town in a pretty fake way on it. What's your take that the arm injury for CM Punk is a capital W work, Larson?
Come on, people. Come on now. Why would WWE risk jeopardizing fan goodwill by faking an injury to CM Punk and potentially a huge money-making opportunity to build a WrestleMania to fake an arm injury?
I don't know.
Nonsense.
What would be the point of it?
Exactly. You'd potentially alienate some people, and there's weeks of build you'd lose to a potentially huge money-making match at WrestleMania. There's no upside to it unless it feels like, yep, got my one TV match in, it's time to take a couple months off.
For the people who think that it could be a work, what would be the end game there? He's not going to be at Mania? Like, it's that he faked an arm injury, so he's not going to be at WrestleMania?
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. I did think it was interesting, though, because I thought the valid question was, did they have to change the actual outcome of the Rumble?
Well, Fightful addresses that here, because that has been speculated. You know, Punk was slated to win. He realized he suffered a pretty serious injury during the match. And an audible was called to change the outcome, to change the winner to Cody. But Fightful reports, no way. Nope. Cody, always set to be the winner of the Men's Rumble. No change.
Once they started mentioning the, back-to-back situation, I was like, is this a little bit of misdirection? But no, in the end, I look up until, well, I think I didn't realize until it went down to Cody and Punk started healing it up. At that point, but it took until then. Honestly, it did. I did not know until that moment that it was going to be Cody. So hats off to them for, again, presenting with so many possibilities, so many options, because that just means they built up so many good characters that could potentially take that, if it's going to main event night one, that slot.
Indeed.
I personally still think it's Drew McIntyre, irregardless of the contract situation. I think he takes that spot. I think he wins it if he signs a new contract, and he loses that match if he doesn't sign a new contract. And that's pretty much, I feel like that's kind of cut and dry. He's doing great work right now.
He is, and the only rebuttal I would have to that is if Gunther were able to travel to Australia for Elimination Chamber, assuming the Chamber match still now is going to be for number one contendership, the World Heavyweight Championship. It was a situation where Gunther was in that match. I would think there's a pretty good chance that he would win it. But since apparently he's trying to establish residency here in the United States, not able to travel abroad, seems like, at least based on what we've heard, he won't be at Elimination Chamber.
Yeah. If Punk hadn't mentioned that I'll put it this way: if Punk hadn't mentioned in his promo, and who knows if he was supposed to or not, that the Chamber, seemed to be the way he phrased it, would be for a number one contender for Seth's title shot. If that hadn't been the case, then I would think, okay, maybe they're going to get there a different way, in which case Gunther would still be a possibility. But given how prominent Drew was taking out CM Punk the way he did, it to me, it just seems, I don't know about obvious, but it kind of seems obvious to me anyways, that Drew is going to be the guy. And I mean, look, I still think that with Gunther, there's just a number of guys that can take that spot. Jey Uso, Sami Zayn. Mm-hmm. I think it's possible that we have I've said this before, we have Sami Zayn coming out of Mania with the Intercontinental Championship, a thing that he's got a lot of history with. And Kevin Owens coming out with the U.S. title. Mm-hmm. And so you have that duo with history, both with the mid-card titles, with the work, their own workhorse titles in a respect anyways, or what you'd think they should be. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if there's also Sheamus still out there. You know, he was posting on social media, that stuff.
Assuming when he's cleared to return from injury, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, which I don't know when that's supposed to be.
Yeah, I don't know.
But they do. They have a lot of good options there, and it's interesting to see. I'm hesitant to praise Vince McMahon in any way, shape, or form these days, but one of his strengths in the past, in terms of creatively booking things, was when he was presented with a situation where there needed to be a sudden change, he was decent at pivoting. And, it's basically how we got Kofi Mania. And it'll be interesting to see what Triple H's tact will be if he's going to have that as a strength, creatively speaking. Clearly, the guy knows what he's doing when it comes to long-term booking and allowing these performers to explore these characters to their fullest potential. Let's see what he can do when he's presented with a situation where you've got a couple missing pieces. How are you going to pivot now? And it's good for him. He's got a deep bench of interesting characters.
He does. And Triple H has the experience from the creative side of things to maybe deal with changes in creative much better than, say, someone like Tony Khan, who in the past, AEW, when they've had to deal with creative changes, have struggled to kind of find their footing. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely.
We shall see. You want to talk TV deals now?
Dude, I was so hoping you would ask me. Hey, look, I love TV deal. I'm not.
TV deal, singular.
I love TV, and I love deals. And so put them together, Larson. Let's talk TV deal.
All right, let's talk
singular.
Specifically, the WWE Netflix TV deal. So on the recent episode, try I guess so I can talk here, on a recent episode of The Town with Matthew Bellani and guest Lucas Shaw talked about WWE's Netflix deal and how the lawsuit filed against Vince McMahon, the subsequent resignation from WWE TKO, could have affected it. This is what Bellani said. These transcripts come to you from Cultaholic. Quote, if the lawsuit against McMahon and him stepping down and all that had the allegations against him come out even a week ago, I think it would have been a problem for this Netflix deal. But from my understanding, Netflix has communicated to WWE that Vince is out. Now they're going full steam ahead on this.
Okay.
That kind of seems to be the business world's attitude, looking at the Slim Jim situation to build up the Rumble.
Yeah.
That seemingly in their mindset, if Vince is out of the equation, business as usual.
It's good to go. Yeah. By the end, he obviously become a hindrance to the company doing business.
Yes.
And
obviously.
So yeah. Not terribly shocking about that.
It speaks nothing to the culture issue within WWE, which still needs to be addressed. We talked about that in recent days about reports that Endeavor is looking for a fresh start and perhaps letting go of some of Vince's closest associates, some Vince loyalists from WWE.
Yeah.
We haven't necessarily heard anything to that happening yet as far as any action being taken.
You would think there would be a very meticulous, process that could stand,
legal scrutiny is what you're going to say.
That can stand up to legal scrutiny. Exactly. Yes. I mean, you can't just go around firing people willy nilly. You got to have the, the backing of, you got to make sure you know what you're doing. You're doing your total due diligence in that respect. But I will guarantee you, between now and I don't know, probably Elimination Chamber, WrestleMania, we'll find out. When Vince came back, and a lot of them honestly were sort of unnamed.
Yeah.
It was various executives that were with Vince the entire way, left when he left, came back when he came back. I suspect that sort of crew of Vince's, yes men are probably going to be the same crew that are going to be out of there, and then they'll go from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you would think so. I listened to a good portion of this episode of The Town. There's some interesting stuff there related to the TV deal side of things about Netflix's philosophy going forward in terms of how they program their platform. And I guess I wasn't aware of this, but the head of their film development over at Netflix got relieved of his duties shortly before the WWE deal was announced. And on this podcast, they were speculating that Netflix, rather than going, because I guess that particular executive really wanted to make better movies and put those movies in theaters, because I guess there's some data that shows that if you have a theatrical release, even for a streaming movie, it benefits the streaming side of things.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But in the end, it seems like Netflix, now that they're trying to push the ad-based subscription model, are looking for essentially total watch time. They want people to sit there and watch Netflix all day and get served a bunch of ads.
Yeah, that's definitely something that YouTube. I mean, it's interesting how it feeds into itself because, from what I understand, YouTube's current algorithm came from the philosophy of bingeable TV, which is sort of something that Netflix pioneered. And I mean, other stream, like Prime pioneered, but Prime was part of that. But Netflix, especially as early on as like the first season of Stranger Things, they really, the whole idea of, at the start of pandemic, it was Tiger King or whatever his name was.
Oh yeah.
And the idea of bingeable television to keep people on your platform became something that YouTube looked at as like, okay, well, yeah, we like when people sit there and watch something for a long time, but we want them to stay on our platform. And if that means shorter videos that lead into similar videos that remain on YouTube, that's what we're going to push. That's what the algorithm wants. And so, it's not surprising that Netflix seemingly has come like full circle now, I guess, in that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting going from, when Netflix started, obviously it was a DVD rental service.
Yeah,
where you'd rent movies and they'd send them to you in the mail, and then
I still have Rambo 3 on DVD from Netflix.
Really?
I do, yeah, somewhere in this house.
And then for a while they had the Stars deal. Netflix did. They were licensing the Stars movie library.
Yeah,
and then when that expired, it kind of coincided with them kind of shifting, seemingly from my outside perspective, to more original TV-based programming, and that's when they'd have the highly bingeable stuff at the time.
Yeah,
and then I guess once they got to a certain level, they were like, know what we're missing? Prestige programming.
Yeah, right.
So let's go and call the David Finchers and the Martin Scorseses and have them make movies for us.
It also, I think, sort of their own algorithm. I remember this distinctly. Their own algorithm was telling them what people like. And so if there was like a particular Fincher movie that people were watching endlessly, it's like, okay, cool. Let's go spend $100 million on David Fincher.
Yeah.
and that's what they would do. Arrested Development. It was like they had Arrested Development and people were watching it and they're like, hey, let's go spend a bunch of money on more Arrested Development because people want.
So one thing they mentioned on this podcast is like the value proposition for Netflix in regard to the WWE deal, where they're spending, if you take it at face value, $500 million annually for the rights for Raw, as well as a bunch of international programming rights and pay-per-view rights internationally. And they were saying you can get 52 weeks of WWE programming for that much money, or you can get 2 Rebel Moons. And I'm sitting there thinking, I watched the first 20 minutes of Rebel Moon. That movie cost $250 million. Get out of here.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's that when it's put into that perspective, that's kind of nuts. That's absolutely kind of nuts. And you know how people are, the wrestling nerds, they will tune in, man. They will come and they will stay and they will they'll watch that. And who knows, maybe that is, I don't know if this will be the case, but maybe that'll be the case that could be made to properly migrate the WWE Network / Peacock library over as well. If I'm done watching, the latest episode of Raw or a premium live event and I get pushed Backlash 2018 trailer, I don't know if that's going to keep me around like Peacock does. It's always the same trailer.
It's always the same trailer. But if you go from watching an old episode of Raw or an old pay-per-view and you get pushed another old episode of Raw, another old pay-per-view, I'm like, I haven't seen this in a while. You might continue watching.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if they do it. And Netflix seems to have the infrastructure to properly algorithmically push what you'd want to see. It's like, I might not want to see Backlash trailer, but if you push to me like, oh, this guy is, he's watching, these shows from the 90s, he might like an old episode of Nitro. He might like an episode of ECW. We're going to push that to him. So, yeah, Netflix is going to be the way of the future, Larson.
Maybe.
Could be. Yeah, maybe.
Could be.
Things change pretty quick. Anyways, before we dovetail into the next bit, you want to go ahead and pay some bills?
Let's do it.
All right.
This episode of Going in Raw is sponsored by BetterHelp. Steve.
Yes.
A lot of people might think that relationships need to be easy to be right. But some of the best relationships are those where both parties put in the work to make them great. I mean, I know that some of my most important relationships were strained back in my mid-20s when I was dealing with severe anxiety. But therapy allowed me to learn the skills I needed to better cope with my anxiety and help me face the challenge of mending those relationships. And if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try.
BetterHelp is completely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited for your schedule. All you got to do to get started is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and then you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge.
Become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit BetterHelp.com/raw today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw.
So speaking of Vince McMahon and how the allegations against him in this lawsuit are affecting WWE, on a recent Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer spoke about how many people might have been aware of Vince McMahon's misconduct. These transcripts come to you via Cultaholic. He said this: "It stops and ends with Vince McMahon. He was the guy at the top, but as somebody said to me tonight, the whole place from the walls and everything was pretty much crawling with bad things, and they need to blast that place up, and they kind of do. Everybody knew certain things. I had one person who didn't even work for the company, but was best friends with somebody who worked for the company for decades. And I said, like, man, there's a whole lot there that I hadn't heard before. And he just goes, why are you so naive? I was friends with X. I knew all of it." End quote. His friend seems to be a bit of a braggart, but the idea that it was a poorly kept secret, Vince McMahon's monstrous behavior, isn't terribly shocking, given that even a couple of idiots like us had heard, like awful things, and everybody was kind of aware of that, given that there's been, all sorts of allegations out there in the past.
Yeah, over the years, yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting today, because this quote dropped, I think, yesterday at some point. Today, floating around social media was some screenshots of Glassdoor reviews.
Yeah.
From years ago. And those reviews, if you've ever read them, I know we have off and on previously, it just paints a picture of an absolute nightmare.
It does, yeah.
Working for that company.
Yeah, it does.
And if what Vince was doing was kind of an open secret, it just speaks to how rotten the culture was there.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And it's all the more imperative that they do something to address that immediately.
Yeah.
From within, and anybody who was implicated, out. Vince loyalists, out. Obviously, they got to do their due diligence in that respect.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what and I don't think for a second that the findings beyond, just us knowing that people have been let go, and maybe there's going to be names for people who were let go. It'll be interesting where they draw the line at between knowing and enabling, because, it's number one. I refuse to believe, given that you and I on the outside and everybody who pays half attention to WWE knows that Vince McMahon is a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. Like you can look at the Rita Chatterton stuff. Mm-hmm. You can look at plenty of stuff Vince has done on screen. You can look at Stephanie McMahon on a WWE documentary saying Vince wanted to do an incest angle. I mean, she said that on a documentary.
Yeah.
Tell me he's not a piece of shit for creatively, like, wanting. That's what you come up with, dude. That's you're subhuman for that. That's your daughter. Like, that's your kid. And so you can't tell me that when you work there, anybody, the writers, wrestlers, that, like, morally, the head of that company is wildly compromised, Yeah. But it's the place to go to apply that particular trade. And so, this compromise had to be made for anybody working there. And unfortunately, that's with a lot of companies. Like you go to work, you go and be you work at, I don't know, Amazon, and Jeff Bezos is your boss, and there's plenty of morally compromised situations there as well. Not going to say anything close to what, is going on with Vince McMahon, obviously, but, in terms of how they treat their workers.
Yeah.
So that's my long way of saying it's one thing to know, it's another to have enabled. And I believe that there has to be a gray area in between that I wonder where that actual line will be drawn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sort of remains to be seen.
It does remain to be seen. These reports of Endeavor looking to have a fresh start with WWE. There's no timetable as far as when that was to happen, if they in fact go in that direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, no, we just don't know.
And by the way, we ain't, hey, we've taken Mark Zuckerberg's money before. You know what I mean? Like, we're not immune to that. I am not on a fucking high horse here. I am not. I don't know what's going on up there at YouTube. What is it? Alphabet? Is that what Google's thing is? Alphabet? Yeah, I don't know what's going on up there. I'm sure probably bad things, I mean, from what I understand, was it Facebook? I remember there was like some report about Facebook. Oh, God, I think might be YouTube. I know it probably has to exist with YouTube as well, but moderators who take down video, who are tasked with taking down, videos of horrific things happening, because that's not all automated. That's not all AI. There's people there.
Human eyes have to watch that stuff. Yeah.
Human eyes have to watch that stuff, and people will put up disgusting things on various platforms. But I forget what the actual. There was like complaints like, "Hey, you're not providing us with enough psychological assistance."
I believe
I want to say it's Facebook, but I don't.
I thought it was YouTube.
Oh, was it? Okay.
I thought.
Okay. Well.
This was several years ago.
It was a couple years ago. Yeah. So I'm not on a high horse. Unfortunately in life, you gotta, if you want to make $1 and a cent, if you want to put, food on your family's table, you just got to understand, well, chances are the people running this place are garbage. It's just corporate culture, man. This is what it is. I'm sorry, but it's true. Anyways, that's my... There's my Bernie Sanders moment of the day, Larson.
There you go. There you go. Hey, Steve, what day is it?
Shit. I didn't know it was going to be a pop quiz. It's the last day of January.
Yeah, which means it's what day in Japan?
Oh, it's Kazuchika Okada's free day.
Yeah, he's a free agent today, February 1st. But the question is, where is he going to go?
Oh, man.
So...
Action Coast Wrestling, baby.
Oh, I mean, we gotta pony up. Do you think Okada will accept payment in Okada dollars? Because I have one of those.
Oh man, do I even have any more of those? I don't know if I have any. We might just have the one. Would you be willing to part that for the Rainmaker himself?
I would. We got some reports on where he might end up going. First here from PW Insider, they report, quote, "The belief is that with his longtime friendship with the Young Bucks, AEW is Okada's likely destination. When Okada was a rookie on excursion in the United States and wrestling for TNA, the Young Bucks took him under their wing and befriended him, assisting him out when most others left Okada to his own devices to navigate living, traveling, and working in a foreign country. Okada has maintained a steadfast loyalty to the Bucks in the years since, as he evolved into one of the best in-ring wrestlers in the world." PW Insider continues, Okada is being represented by Barry Bloom for negotiations with his next deal. Bloom was with him when Okada wrestled for TNA in Las Vegas. PW Insider is told there are no current talks between TNA and Okada, and he is not expected to appear there again. We're also told that if there were any discussions between Okada and WWE, they were not at any great length or depth. Fightful Select, though. They add that WWE sources stated there has been talks between Okada and the company, and Okada has reached out to members of the WWE roster to, quote, gauge his offers, WWE's approach, and to help weigh his decision. Fightful notes that AEW has been and continues to be confident about the chances of landing the Rainmaker, so much so that tentative plans were in place for Okada's debut.
Okay, all right.
Well, he's got 3 more dates, I believe.
Yeah,
the 11th, when he wrestles Tanahashi, and I think the 23rd and the 24th. There was the last 3 book dates for New Japan. And after that, free
much is being made on social media about his merchandise on Pro Wrestling Tees being there's a small window left while it's still going to be up, but then people are rebutting that by saying it's just a New Japan thing.
They apparently did the same thing with Jay White.
Same thing with Jay White, so it's not really indicative of one thing or the other.
No.
So yeah, I don't know. I guess it's still up in the air. You know, I mean, it does seem like Mercedes Moné is going to AEW. I think there was their 5-4 report that said, you know, he reached out to somebody and they're like, yeah, we're not into contract tampering. So we're not going to
reach out to somebody that would be about Mercedes showing up at the Rumble. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it seems like
that implies there's a deal in place, you know?
It seems like that because I was reading some stuff about, you know, they're going to be going to Boston soon. Mm-hmm. And they might do sort of like a CM Punk style first dance thing where they don't even. Maybe that was me. I think there's a Dynamite coming up in Boston.
Let me check. Events.
Yeah, events.
Phoenix, Tulsa.
What's post Revolution? What's the first one after Revolution?
What is the date? Okay, this is March 30th. This is well after Revolution. There's nothing on the website from Boston.
Okay, all right. Are all the dates on there?
No.
Okay.
Like there's a gap between March 30th and April 10th. There's like a week gap there. There's a gap between Revolution and the March 16th Collision in Ottawa, Ontario.
Okay. So the idea would be that sort of on the down low, they're going to book Boston, and she would just sort of show up, and everybody would sort of know because it would be the same thing as a CM Punk thing. It would just sort of get out there.
Yeah.
Which could be a really smart thing to do if they make that big of a deal of Mercedes Moné coming in, then they're doing it the right way because that's how you should do it.
Yep.
And I don't know where they can go to have that same effect for Kazuchika Okada, but you want to make sure that wherever he shows up, it's like at least 10,000 in the building and not 1,900.
Yeah.
Like tonight's Dynamite, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I know.
Because that's
and it's interesting because Dynamite tonight's it's from New Orleans. It's a major market.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You know, and it's I know. I mean, you got to think then if that's the case, they want to debut Okada as AEW's newest signing. You do it at Revolution in front of 15,000 people.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, you would think so. Come out, face off with Joe, and then just figure it out from there. You know, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. He's such a big deal. Especially, I'll put it this way: he's a big deal to the AEW crowd. It's just there's God, I'm going to get myself in trouble again. There's not a ton of like dream scenarios waiting for him there that they can put him in. Joe is one of them.
Yeah, Joe is one of them. Yeah.
But then like, how do you do that when Swerve seems to be the guy that they're going to go with for the next, champion? So I don't know what you do with Okada in the meantime. Like what would be your first, if Tony Khan all of a sudden called you up and said, "Hey Larson, I don't like your partner very much, but I think you're a genius. Book out Okada's first 3 feuds." Who would you go with that hasn't been done before?
Yeah,
there?
I know. I mean, I guess the easy thing would be like, hey, let's lean into something that's worked in the past,
Oh. Yeah, but I mean, they're high profile names are those guys,
I know. And like the most high profile name and the most obvious choice would be Kenny, but he's out with no timetable for him to come back.
Yeah.
So
Jay White again, like
Jay White, but they put on great matches.
They did
a bunch though.
We've seen it so many times. If Adam Cole was healthy, and not the champion, it's like, okay, Adam Cole, that's a good name right there.
That is, but Adam Cole, if the idea is that he's eventually going to be champion, shouldn't be taking a ton of losses either.
That's a good point too. Yeah, that's the thing. There's sort of that delineation. Like the guy like Swerve should not be taking any losses right now.
No.
Hangman, for that matter, unless it's to Swerve, should not be taking losses right now. Or Joe, really. No. And then everybody else is like Orange Cassidy. Look, an Okada Orange Cassidy match could be fun. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like a full on feud between them makes no sense for a number of reasons.
I You know what they're probably going to do?
Oh no, what?
They do Jericho and Okada.
Didn't they have a match in New Japan already? I'm not saying that
they did.
They had to have. They did Naito.
Yeah, they did Naito. They probably did Okada.
But not like a proper feud. It doesn't seem like there was a proper feud. Otherwise, I would have remembered it.
No.
Yeah, it's not. I don't like that. I'm not huge into that. I get you could do like
this feud would be fun from a match perspective. You do Okada and Takeshita. That match would be great. Or those matches would be great.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Takeshita could take a loss there. Yeah, that's not terrible. Not exactly a big deal, Takeshita.
No. I mean, people really like him, but I don't know, Pac?
That's a cool name.
Roosh.
That's a cool name.
Roosh versus Okada would be great.
These are all good names, but goddamn, he has not established any of these guys as like big time players.
I know. Trent. How about Trent? Chaos versus Chaos.
Oh, I don't know if he has. I don't know if little Kazu has it in his heart. Him and Trent, they're like supposed to be the best tag team in the world.
I know.
Chuck, you can do Chuck.
I mean, the obvious fallbacks are Ospreay and Jay White. You know.
Like, you know, isn't it weird to you that Okada doesn't listen to our show and thinks, boy, these guys are right. There's no matchups for me there. Look, man, we're fans, all right? We just want to see the dude in some fresh shit. And AEW don't have no fresh shit for Okada.
Okay, so Jericho and Okada happened at Dominion 2019.
Yeah, I mean, they can revisit that, but fuck.
Okada be doing something way more important than wrestling.
Much cooler than that.
Yeah,
man.
No,
Roosh is cool. Roosh is a really good name.
Roosh would be great.
Roosh would be a badass
I think Takeshita would be an awesome match. There's a lot of really good match options, but in terms of stories,
Okada can. Yeah, Okada can like Roosh and Okada could elevate everybody there.
Yeah,
you know, that could bring those guys up. It really can. But that's the thing. It's like there are so many guys there that like really shouldn't be taking losses. And then there's everybody else who's like a foregone conclusion taking a loss, and nobody really wants to see that shit, you know?
I know. But, I mean, there's probably a dozen people on the AEW roster that you think them versus Okada, oh, that'd be a really good match.
Yeah, right.
But where's the story beyond, oh, that'd be a really good match?
Yeah, and it's not like, oh, man, I am dying to see that.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I'm dying to see Okada go. Like, look, if Gunther left WWE tomorrow, I'd still be dying to see Okada Gunther, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that all works out. Hey, maybe he'll end up going. Maybe Shinsuke will be like, bro. He's like, Shinsuke's going to be like, listen, these guys you're going in Raw, right? They have a good point. There's no matches for you there.
Or Okada talks to Finn Balor. And Finn's like, going in Raw?
Real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, Steven Larson, yeah. Oh, man. Anyways, would you like to answer some questions?
Let's answer some questions.
Oh, man, look at this. Judge dismisses Disney's lawsuit against DeSantis. Oh, Disney. Oh, wow. Judge Joe. Okay, interesting. Anyways, thought it was the other way around.
Cameron Bortolazzo here says, should Aldis and Pierce hand select opponents for a Raw versus SmackDown match at WrestleMania like Angle versus Shawn Michaels back in the day? Yes.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm down for that.
Easy way to say, these two people don't have a natural organic build to a Mania match.
Yeah. I like it.
There you go.
That'd be good. Let's see here. Equally Terrible says, with this year's Rumble in the books, how high or low would you rate the show as a whole? I can tell you. Where's my star ratings?
Oh, I have them on my phone, I think still.
I can tell you what I
mean, I only gave one match more than 4 stars. That was the Women's Rumble.
I don't know what my ratings are, man. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, I do. They're on my Batman. They're on this thing.
Well, I think we were in agreement except for the Women's Rumble. You gave it 4. I gave it 4 1/4. I think otherwise we were in complete agreement.
Well, I'm gonna see what my average is here. 3.25 plus shit. I already messed
10,
up.
14.25.
3.75 plus 3 plus 4. 2.5 divided by
So my
4.
my average is a little bit higher than 3.5.
Yeah, same. 3.5625.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, okay. So that being said, it's a B plus,
Okay.
right? Isn't that 3.5?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, if you're doing the yeah
Yeah, yeah,
GPA scale, yeah.
yeah.
4 is an A, 3 is a B. Yeah. Yeah.
The American education system at play, right there.
There we go.
Yeah, man.
Alex Foster here asked, if you guys were opposing GMs, what would you offer certain superstars to convince them to sign with your brand instead of the other brand?
Other brand. Oh, easy. 2 words. Favored nations.
Oh,
Yeah.
how about this? Creative control.
Oh shit! You might have just trumped me. I don't know, man. Yeah, I wonder what plays better.
No, money will always trump creative control, or not always, but more often than not, I would think.
I think you're right. Let's see here. Carson Gillis says, I'm thinking back to Cody and Punk promo. If CM Punk doesn't leave pro wrestling in 2014, does CM Punk do all the things he spoke about in his pipe bomb promo, or is it still Cody who accomplishes all of it? I am I wonder, CM Punk doesn't seem like the type of fella to have many regrets. But do you think any part of him regrets not, once he was free and clear of WWE, not trying out New Japan for a spell?
I don't know, because he seemed pretty burnt out on wrestling.
Yeah, right.
His body was a wreck, and he just seemed burnt out of the whole situation. Then he gets fired on his wedding day.
Yeah.
I would totally get it if he's like, the hell with all this.
When it did seem like he was completely put off until he did the backstage thing with WWE. And even then he was like, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I got to go back to WWE because, it's not like he was like, oh, I want to go dip my toes into the New Japan waters. Seemingly he wanted
to continue wrestling at the largest platform available to him.
Seemingly, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he keeps on saying, he had to leave even though he didn't want to. Mm-hmm. This is the place he always wanted to be.
Yeah.
WWE, that is. So it seems like one way or the other, once he decided he wanted to wrestle, eventually he wanted to go back there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tymore here says, in kayfabe, who'd you rather work for, Adam Pearce on Raw or Nick Aldis on SmackDown? This is easy.
Go ahead.
It's Nick Aldis.
Okay. Why?
Because Adam Pearce is he's so easily flustered that he could get in a mood and book me in some match. I'm like, what the heck, Adam Pearce? Just because you're frustrated and overwhelmed by what's going on in Raw, then I have to deal with the consequences? Nick Aldis, he's got even temper. He didn't take any crap from the bloodline. No, I'll give you Nick Aldis. Easy.
This is why you're wrong. This is why you're so wrong, Larson. Because out of chaos, I will emerge on top. Because Pierce, he barely has a handle on his wrestlers. Guess what? In this situation, I'm wrestlers, okay? I don't want some guy checking my ass at every turn. Nick Aldis is thinking he's got everybody under his thumb, and he does. I'm like, I don't want to deal with this guy. Look at him. He's the most barrel-chested motherfucker. He'll rip that suit off in a heartbeat and take me down. Adam Pearce ain't doing that. I say one crossword to Adam Pearce, and he goes to the bottle. No, man, give me Pierce. I'm going to look. He tries to check me. I check him back. He goes running away to find some sweet liquid courage. And then I'm running Raw.
Steve, I got some bad news for you. You're not a shark. You can't deal with that environment.
Oh, I'm a shark.
No, you're not.
Larson. Okay, what have you said about me? When I have an argument to make, I'm pretty compelling.
Can be, but I don't know at this point. But there's no fisticuffs involved in any of those points to be made.
Look, man, I'm telling you. Come with me to Raw, Larson. Come with me to Raw.
No,
We'll run the place, Larson.
I like certainty and I like routine. Blake Whitehouse here says, should Trick and Mello be separated when they both get called up? They're about to feud in NXT after Vengeance Day.
Yeah.
That might be your main event at Stand and Deliver Mania weekend for the NXT pay-per-view.
I do think that once they get called up, they should be separated for a couple years. Their reunion will be huge. They need to be like a forever feud, those guys. Yeah. It's going to be like several Mania main events 5 to 10 years from now, Mm-hmm. And it's going to be really good if they play their cards right.
Yep. Justin Sider here says, what is a finishing move that is not currently used on TV that should make a comeback? finishing move not used on TV.
Okay, well,
So Justin Sider mentioned it's the perfect plex. So people do the perfect plex. It's just not a finisher.
a lot of old finishers are just normal moves these days. It kind of sucks. I don't know. Like, I can't think of any. Like in WWE, not a lot of people are allowed to do pile drivers.
Yeah, basically nobody's allowed to do pile drivers.
Yeah. So I'd say that. That was like such a random move to not be allowed. Because like if you do it, my favorite is those sloppy ass pile drivers where basically like the person just sort of lands and the other person lands on top of them and everybody's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, people are allowed to do destroyers, which is basically a pile driver.
Like, how are people allowed to do Alabama slams and power bombs are not allowed to do pile drivers?
People allowed to do poison Rondas in WWE.
I still don't understand that move, man. That's crazy. That move is crazy.
That should be a finish. Spikes on the top of their head. That should be a finish.
Yeah, no kidding. Roddy says, are there any wrestlers that most people like, but you just don't see the appeal of?
Bret Hart. Actually, I see the appeal. I do see the appeal of Bret Hart. It's his character work just never really resonated with me beyond like, all right, he's a good wrestler.
I should mention this. He actually specifies in-ring.
Oh, in-ring?
Yeah.
So someone who's in-ring work just doesn't do it for me, even though a lot of people like their in-ring work?
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm going to say at this point, and I've changed on this, the Young Bucks. Just sort of over it. It had nothing to do with even, I don't think they're like good characters or anything because I don't. But like when I see their matches, I'm like, I've seen this a million times already.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, probably them. Another guy that I'm thinking of now, Finn Balor. I love everything about Finn Balor. I don't mind watching his matches. I've never seen a really compelling Finn Balor match, except maybe did he fight Brock at one point?
Yeah, he did.
Probably a Brock match, because Brock had good matches against those small dudes.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, Finn Balor's moves are not all that interesting to me.
It's a lot of stomps and drop kicks. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But I love him. I think he's awesome. I think he's
his
great.
character, he's great.
Yeah. In ring. That people think are like, oh my God, this guy's great.
I mean, I might still say Brett because I think he's good.
Yeah, right.
And like on a fundamental level, he's very good.
Yeah.
But I always thought his matches followed a pretty predictable pattern.
Okay.
In terms of his moveset. Like for being, thought of as a great technical wrestler. Mm-hmm. He's not busting out stuff like Bryan Danielson does now.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I understand the world of pro wrestling has changed tremendously in the years since Brett was at his peak versus now when Danielson's at his peak, but still.
Yeah. This is a great question here from the great Kramer. If you could choose one manager from all of wrestling history to be your hype man, who would it be?
Wow, that's a tough one. There's a lot of good options. Let me check something real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. Because I'm deep in thought for the audio audience. I'm deep in thought right now.
Yeah,
YouTubers can see that.
Thought.
We're both deep in thought on this one. You know who I would go with? Freddie Blassie.
All right.
Looked like $1 million. Has that what was the name of that? Lloyd Bridges played him on Seinfeld.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
He has that feel to him, like an old, Yeah, because he's classy, and it's like I feel like there's an air of importance to me having classy Freddie Blassie present me. Even because I've got here's the thing, I need it because I've got basketball shorts, cut off sleeve shirt. I'm dressed like New Jack, but I've got classy Freddie Blassie with me. I don't have a shopping cart like New Jack did.
Full of weapons, yeah.
I draw the line there.
I mean, the obvious answer is like Paul Heyman.
Oh, come on. Be more
He's
interested
so
in
good.
that.
I know. I was trying to think of a more out of left
Here's the
field
thing about
answer.
Heyman with Roman. Heyman he stares at Roman too much. I don't need somebody eyeballing me all the time. Like, I get it. You appreciate, you're genuflecting at me, over me, whatever the phrase is. I don't need that. Okay, can you just handle my bit? Ellering is a good one.
Yeah,
because
literally
he'll actually handle my business.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good call.
He'll actually manage me.
Yeah, Ellering is good.
Not much of a hype man. He fits with you perfectly, though.
He does. Yeah,
you don't want a hype man. You don't want you want some guy.
I want presence. I want someone who's ominous, moody, ominous,
who tucks in his Larson merch shirt, hella deep.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Eastside says WWE really need a big free agent signing this year. No, they just need to re-sign Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, they just need to re-sign Drew. I mean, it's like the CM Punk case. Did they need to sign Punk? No. Did it help their business? Probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Brendan Monroe here says, as they say, ignorance is ignorance. Had a cup of coffee before we started. Now I can't talk.
Oh, wow. You think it'd be the opposite? My veins. Oh, my God. You're jacked. Dude, I'm sorry. I know I had to cut myself short because I was about to launch into the Vince. I'm trying my damnedest. I really am.
It's gonna be a process, Steve.
It's gonna be a process.
Brendan Monroe says, as they say, ignorance is bliss. So do you think you'd enjoy wrestling more if you weren't privy to the backstage and dirt sheet info? So even during the Attitude Era, when we weren't talking about wrestling for a living, what's one of the first things we do either in the morning or we got back from class when we were in college? We go on Scoops.
Scoops.net.
So
we didn't even go on the Wrestling Observer. If I had known, we all should have been ponying up for a subscription. We'd be gathered around it, whenever it came in through the mail.
I know.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I wouldn't. I'd be like Larry. Did you hear the Larry David clip on Bill Simmons?
I heard about it. Yeah.
The people in the crowd think it's real. I'm like, you looking at some of the IWC, I kind of understand where he's coming from. Yeah, no, the backstage shit is the interesting shit. The creative process that they are so protective of.
I know.
Is the interesting shit.
And if they weren't so protective of it, it wouldn't be as interesting.
Right, yeah. I don't know. I would listen to Blu-ray commentaries. I'd listen to wrestler and producer commentaries. Yeah. That'd be fascinating.
Heck yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
The process is the most interesting part.
It is. It really is, yeah.
B-Man here says, what is your best memory of an amusement park and what's your worst? Which roller coaster best describes you? I remember my worst. We went to Magic Mountain, Santa Clarita. Mm-hmm. And they had this roller coaster. They still have it called X, where there's nothing. Here's the thing. This is where I draw the line when it comes to roller coasters. So if I have something under my feet, I can deal with it. I don't like heights.
No.
I can get motion sick.
Oh, God.
But if I have something under my feet, I can deal with it. This X one, you're sitting in a chair, and that chair spins as the roller coaster moves and does its loops and stuff. I got out of that, and I thought about to have a panic attack because it was horrifying. Horrifying.
That's horrible, man.
And so we went on another one that wasn't that crazy, but I was like, oh, I'm going to throw up. I don't feel good.
Yeah.
But what did I do? I went and got a churro. That didn't help. It was delicious, but I needed to settle my stomach. I probably should have had some water or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and I went and got something that was really sweet.
Calm it, yeah.
I never threw up, but I was like, oh gosh, I'm miserable.
That sounds horrible.
It was horrible.
Yeah, I don't know. I have not been a big roller coaster guy. I've been on my fair share, never really freaked out or anything, but it was never such I'd always do it because it's like the thing to do as opposed to, oh, I'm so excited to go do this thing that's probably going to fall apart. Even this past summer, the local yokels throw a little fair and there's carnival rides there. And there was a pretty basic roller coaster that was 20 feet off the ground. And even taking Bama on that thing, rounding some corners, I heard, I'm like, this thing is on the verge, man. I want off. I want out of here. And so I got off, and I was like, I'm cool for now. I don't want to do that again. Yeah. I've never had like a bad experience, but the roller coasters are never good experiences.
Yeah. As far as what roller coaster best describes me, it's probably one of those old ones, old wooden ones.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's a good answer. Yeah.
Rickety.
Yeah.
Whenever I get up from like a squat position now, my right knee just
it's gonna fall apart at any moment.
It's just very loud.
It's like your knees being run by some carny going town to town.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, putting this thing together while half asleep because they were boozing up the night before.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel that. That's actually a good answer. Yeah, man, I don't know. I can't beat that. That's a good one. ECW Star 6720. I wonder which ECW Star this is. Says, if John Cena was to retire from acting and become a full-time wrestling manager, who would you put him with and why? It'd be Austin Theory.
I was going to say Austin Theory, yeah.
He just sits there and points out everything he's doing wrong.
Just belittles him the whole time. Even
why do you think these people don't care about you?
People still don't care.
Do you hear the words that are coming out of your mouth? They don't care about you. All you're doing is moves. Jacob Toon says, who do y'all think will be traded from SmackDown to Raw when Cody goes after Roman and moves brands?
Oh, that's a good question.
Lashley and the Profits should come to Raw.
Yeah.
Feud with the Judgment Day.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah.
That'd be really good.
I'm trying to get some of these names that I have not seen before because we got a bunch
one
of new
here
members.
from Peter Brantus.
Cool.
Why do you think wrestling tribalism exists?
Oh, you can take the wrestling out of that. Why do you think tribalism exists? Because everybody wants to think they're right.
Yep. And now with social media, everybody can find an echo chamber which validates their opinions.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then they take those opinions, which in their mind have been validated, and just throw them out there for everybody else to see.
And they get to be anonymous doing it.
Yep.
Thwipstar says, if you could ask Cody, this is a great question. Any Star Trek related question or his opinion, what would it be? God, boy, that's a good one. I would ask him, Star Trek the motion picture, yay or nay? I would get his thoughts on that.
It'd be less a question and more a discussion about the themes of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Okay,
Growing Gold, Growing Mortality.
Yeah. Oh boy, I bet he'd have an answer for you that would convert you to a full-blooded Cody fan.
You think so?
Oh yeah, he's that eloquent. Yeah.
Well,
and philosophical, I believe too. Yeah.
So if we ever get opportunity, like we don't. I don't think we either of us consider us pretty terribly good at interviewing wrestlers.
Interviews. I hate.
Or we don't like doing it. I think we do all right. I think we do a good enough job.
I hate.
This makes me anxious.
Yeah.
Like everything else does. But if we have an opportunity to interview Cody,
yeah,
I would want to do it simply to talk about Star Trek II. Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, I would want to just talk to him about Star Trek.
Yeah.
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 I'd obviously, if I ever did get that opportunity, I'd ask him to rank his captains. You know, I'd ask him some questions about Discovery because I just did a rewatch of that. I'd say, hey, do you think you would see Five Lights?
Good. Here's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Obviously, Wrath of Khan is the best Star Trek movie.
Yeah, right.
In your estimation, Cody, what's number 2?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Does he say Search for Spock?
A lot of good. I honestly think Search for Spock might have crept up to my number 2 at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it is a really good companion piece to
it really is. I mean, it continues and it elaborates upon the themes and Wrath of Khan, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know popular consensus is probably the whale one, right? Voyage Home.
That's for casuals. The Captain is a Dog says, why not Seth versus Braun Breaker at Mania? Hey, put me in there for world title. Because he's in a tag team with Baron Corbin right now.
Yeah, I mean, Seth ain't going to lose to Braun Breaker.
Yeah, put me in there now. I wonder if the Captain is a Dog is actually Braun Breaker. Hey, why not me? He probably wrote this out. I was like, why not me versus Seth? And then his friend was like, hey, dude, they're not going to know that you're Braun Breaker because it says the Captain is a Dog here. I'm the Captain.
Also a dog.
Elemental Giant. Ooh, this is a tough one. This is a really tough one.
All right.
Who has the most W Riz between Trick Williams, Rhea Ripley, and Drew McIntyre?
Oh my gosh. Did you see that one video of someone who was interviewing Rhea and he was like, "You're not going to make me smile."
I couldn't watch that. I saw the
10
one.
seconds for Rhea to just make him giggle.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. I saw like in little chunks, but I some of those interviews I got cringy at. But no, I saw the look that she gave him. Dude, yeah, I would fold. I would be like, Lacey, I'm sorry. This ain't gonna work anymore. Yeah, you gotta give it to Rhea. You gotta give it to Rhea.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm sure Trick has like infinite Riz, but man, oh man, Rhea's up there, dude. Let's see here. Oh, Ty Williamson RKO says, "Are we sure that CM Punk injury isn't a work?" I'm pretty sure it's not a work. Doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make a lick of sense for it to be a work. No, it's not a work.
I don't think it's a work.
Here's the thing. Cody wrestled the whole match with a torn pectoral muscle.
Yeah, right.
If they make the evaluation that CM Punk is not going to injure himself any further, hitting a couple worked elbows and taking a bump, then it's fine for him to do it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
and on top of that, if it was a worked, here's the thing. If it was a worked injury, they would have him not throw the punch, not bump on it. You know what I mean? We're going to fake this injury.
Yeah.
We're going to fake this injury, so let's have you bump on it. That makes zero sense. None whatsoever.
None.
Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Until next time, we'll see you around.
Goodbye.